Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Baguma Sabiti. I'm an acting assistant commissioner, nuclear science and application in the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. I would like to thank, first of all, before I start the presentation, I would like to thank Nuclear Business Platform for the opportunity. To our ground there is one of our nuclear power sites that we have already identified in the country, and we are continuing to do a number of studies. But that said, all the siting activities were done by the Ugandan experts from the different government entities. And this was through the experience that we had gained through education and training, and also through the collaborations that we've had with a number of partners. That directly speaks to the title of this presentation, which is the role of partnership in supporting Uganda's nuclear power project, the perspectives of international collaboration in developing nuclear power programs. Well, I would like to take you quickly through our rough plan for nuclear power development. We have the preparatory activities which are dated way back from 2006, and this is in line with what His Excellency the President mentioned. In 2005, we had a challenge of a drought that forced us to start using the fossil fuel power plants, which were very expensive because they were relying on heavy fuel oil. So government decided to put in place a framework for the preparatory activities, and also establish a framework that will facilitate the development of nuclear power as one of the options for electricity generation. And one of those enabling environment is the policy and legal framework. Then also now moving forward, the feasibility studies which were conducted, and also as we will notice that we have a number of partners that we've worked with within that particular space for conducting the different studies on feasibility studies. And just as I mentioned earlier, most of the work based on the role of international partnership, you notice that most of this work is done by the Ugandan experts with very few use of international consultants. And that still ties in with our government policy of making sure that there are certain studies that can be done using the experts within the country. For example, if I'm talking about geology issues, if I'm talking about geophysics, if I'm talking about minerals, we have experts in the country that are handling such things. And also when you talk about issues to do with, hydrology, there are water experts in the country that handle all that stuff. So what is usually lacking is how you close the gap of these expertise that different technical staff have. So through this international collaboration, we find ways of making sure that we close the gaps therein. Still, moving forward, the last stage that we are in right now is a feasibility study, and also identification of this would involve identification of a developer. And this, by and large, it's a very clear step that you have to cooperate with the technology providers because we have never built any reactor facility anywhere. So we have to rely on the collaborations that we establish between the various players or vendors in this space. This is the approach that we're using. Our approach focuses on the cornerstone, which is the NBP, having the different expertise to run the engine, which is the gear for this activity. So we have the NBP with different expertise from within the country, but also we work closely with the International Atomic Energy Agency and other advisors on a bilateral cooperative framework to establish that synergy and to help us start moving through very well. Also, very critical that we use is consultants. Usually consultants help us to close certain gaps. Certain gaps, for example, lack of, there could be a specific area where you do not have expertise, and also that sometimes you may not have enough time to do a particular activity. So by engaging a consultant or someone who has done a similar work before makes work very easy to move forward. So this is our structuring of all approaches that we use for our partnerships that we established. And now, I talked about enabling environment. So the policy and legal framework is very critical for any country, because we know all countries are sovereign states. So for a country to be in position to partner with whoever, there's need for a clear policy framework and also the enabling environment through the legal framework. So one of our key aspect that guides us on how we cooperate is our national policies in the country. They guide us on how we engage with different partners. And then also we have the legal and institutional framework. Through the legal, our key partner in this space of atomic or nuclear since 1957 was the International Atomic Energy Agency, and we continue to work with the agency. There are a number of frameworks which really facilitate the collaboration between the Government of Uganda and the International Atomic Energy Agency. That said, also within the African region, there are certain issues or problems that we as Africans can only provide solutions to our region. So through the African Regional Cooperative Framework for research, development and training related to nuclear science and technology, we continue to work within the African bloc to share experience, to share facilities using this particular framework of the IAEA through the AFRA program. Still here we have also within Africa, we have those that are advanced stages. For example, currently we know South Africa in the space of nuclear power is at an advanced stage because they've operated nuclear power plants, and now Egypt is into the phase of constructing a nuclear power plant. So we have someone who has already operated a nuclear power plant, but also right now in African region, we have another partner or another country that is in the process of building a nuclear power plant. So through this synergy, through the African, through AFRA, we have the opportunity to share experience with those that are advanced stage, with those that are still at a lower stage of development. Then through also the same, we have the African Commission on Nuclear Energy, and also this also is a vehicle to facilitate collaboration within the region. The last part is the most interesting, that is framework for bilateral cooperation. As a country, we wish to also establish a specific partnership with a number of countries that are at advanced stages in this particular space. So usually what we start with is a joint permanent commission or a JPC, where we have to establish a high-level cooperative framework between governments, and after that we explore opportunities for us to come up with a memoranda of understanding, and where the situation gets to a higher level, we establish intergovernmental agreements. And I will be showing you some of the pictures for some of these activities that have, which Uganda has really gone through. To start with, I'll start with our cooperation with the Russian Federation. I'll not go into the details because the slides will be provided. So we established a the first step was to go through a JPC, a Joint Permanent Commission between the government of the Russian Federation and the government of Uganda to explore opportunity for us to cooperate in various areas. And then after that, one of the areas that we picked interest as the two governments where we could cooperate was nuclear or atomic energy, peaceful use of atomic energy. So in 2017, we signed a memorandum of understanding with Rosatom, and then taking it further in 2019, we also had the opportunity to sign an IGA with the government of the Russian Federation on this, providing a broad spectrum for cooperation on the use of nuclear science and technology. Another partner that we have worked with also to establish a framework for cooperation in 2018 is CNNC. It has a memorandum of understanding between the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development. And these are some of the pictures. My former minister meeting with the president of CNNC, and after the signing of the memorandum of understanding, I believe you can see one of the familiar faces. That is Sarah on the Ugandan side, who was very instrumental to see this concluded. Yeah. Now, always there are new kids on the block. Our new kid on the block is INVAP, and we witnessed this yesterday during the opening ceremony, where we want to explore opportunity to establish a center for nuclear science and technology at Soroti University. And then also another partner is Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power Company. We have been we already have a cooperative framework at government level, and through this cooperative framework at the governmental level, we had an opportunity to have some of our students go to South Korea to pursue specialized training in nuclear science and technology. And then another which is related to South Africa and is Lesedi, who has just come in also to facilitate our, to provide more technical support as far as reviewing certain technical documentation, sharing experiences. We have had opportunity to send some of our students to South Africa to work with this company, and also we have a Ugandan chapter where this being established a cooperative framework. And maybe just to let the cat out of the bag is that talks at a higher level going on between the government of Uganda and also the government of South Africa to establish areas of cooperation, because as I mentioned earlier, we know South Africa has experience in operating these facilities. Not only operating these facilities, Uganda has been relying largely on radioisotopes produced by Safari 1 in South Africa. So South Africa has been a good partner to Uganda. So the number of discussions that are on the table for us to make sure that we cement this relationship with South Africa. As I mentioned earlier, the oldest partner is the International Atomic Energy Agency. And the International Atomic Energy Agency has always provided very many avenues for us to have a triangular relationship with a number of entities. For example, through the IAEA, we were able to work with a number of US companies For example, we were able to send some of our policymakers to Texas A&M. They got to know a lot to do with the policy matters. We had parliamentarians also go to Texas A&M. They visited the Southern Texas project. They met with the judges that side, legislators, and had discussions, fruitful discussions. And these are some of the things that are really shaping some of our, rather, that are shaping our program in the country. So the IAE has provided a lot of assistance through, you already heard that we had the INIRE mission recently, and also we working on the integrated work plan with the IAEA, and also the exploration of our uranium resources. We're partnering with the IAEA. We were able to interpret the data that was for the airborne survey through the partnership that we have with the IAEA. Now, the reason why I bring this example, we had a consultant that conducted an aerial survey of the country, and we got data, radiometric data. But we had several people that interpreted this data, but it was, the interpretation that we got was not really pinpointing the areas. And after reinterpreting this data using the Canadian experts that we received through the IAEA, we were able now to pinpoint some of these areas. And now our experts can, with a degree of accuracy, they go to these particular areas to continue to follow up some of these anomalies. So, and then the other aspect is to do with regulatory infrastructure. Still, the IAA continue to facilitate this partnership, but also we have a direct relationship with the Department of Energy to support our regulatory body to make sure they build sound safety and security framework for security of sources, and also preparation for the nuclear power program. This is the time when the experts had concluded the expert mission. Now, I'm about to close with this slide to really put emphasis on some of the key aspects you already know. But these are some of the benefits that we have realized through our different engagements. Now, one, I already mentioned, sharing experience. We do not have a university that is training staff in the field of nuclear engineering. So we've been relying more on universities abroad. So we were able to share experience, and also I mentioned earlier through the AFCON, through the AFRA, we have opportunity to share experience as members within those established framework. Then also to do with sharing expertise through exchange programs. This is one avenue that we're looking at as we establish the Center of Nuclear Science and Technology, and also other areas. This we have already tested this. We worked with the Koreans when we were starting our program around 2013, when we were starting our roadmap activities. We received experts from Korea that came and worked with us within the Ministry of Energy. They were attached in the ministry. We shared experience, we worked with them, and so there was that exchange. But still, moving forward as we build our Center for Nuclear Science and Technology, we want to utilize this opportunity to make sure that we establish collaboration with those countries that already have existing facilities that we are putting up, so that we can have the opportunity to send lecturers to those universities, have some of the experts come down to Uganda, and vice versa. Then through the AFRA program, we have the opportunity to share facilities. For example, the guys that are in my division that are working on research reactor, through the IAEA, we're having the opportunity to, gain experience on how to prepare for this, and also there are other modules through the IAEA where you can learn certain aspects using the virtual platforms that are established by the International Atomic Energy Agency. Also, we know if you're not starting from scratch, you save a lot of time. I know we have been developing the ITER project for some time, but if there is a project that you're not reinventing the wheel, for example, you have a reference plant, it becomes very easy for you to save a lot of time, because there are lessons learned when you're building that technology that you do not have to repeat certain things. So that comes with an advantage of saving time. And then also learning from common mistakes. I'll give you a very good example. There's a country X. Country X engaged a number of consultants to do some of their studies. And now, after concluding the studies, when country X, when the consultants left, the country X could not interpret or utilize the reports that were prepared by the consultant. Now, that causes a serious drawback, because if you are not involved in the process, it becomes very hard for you to understand how to implement that particular activity. And that's the reason as to why our government has a strong and firm position on local content. Local content is one of our critical aspects, because we want the Ugandans to be involved. As I mentioned earlier, most of the studies that we are doing are done by the Ugandan experts. We share our reports through peer review mechanisms. We invite people to look at our reports. Then we share also with our senior management and also our key policy decision makers. And this has been, we have been able to do this because we learn from other people's mistakes. I think what I've said was not very new to most of you, but that's the approach that we've been using as Uganda, and it's bearing fruit. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sabiti, for your presentation. Is there any burning questions for Sabiti? Any burning questions? Okay, Sabiti, I think it was a very... You want to say something?
Yeah,
yes.
It means either was not very clear, or the delegates understood everything.
No, your president made it very clear yesterday that Uganda is serious for nuclear. So, yeah, so that's the most important thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sabiti.
And we do not want to waste time. And I think one of the reasons why we are all here, it would be very sad, and Zaf, if one of us leaves this place without establishing a partnership or a network, really it will be a shame. So I believe at the end of this conference we'll be able to share cards and also follow up on collaboration with whoever is here. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you